Hollow Knight is a game that has a story. And after using hours of meticulous research and scientific evidence, I am proud to say that this YouTube channel is the only source of 100% accurate Hollow Knight lore out there. Hollow Knight starts, like all great stories do, at the top left side of the world. You play as the Hollow Knight, and you've just arrived in the kingdom of Hollow Nest. The only things that you have on you are an old nail and the ability to think real hard. When you first get to Hollow Nest, there's a sign that says it's for higher beings alone. Unfortunately, the Hollow Knight, he's pretty short, and he cannot read the sign. But I'm 7'8", so I know that it says you should like, subscribe, and ring that bell. The first place the Hollow Knight arrives on their journey is a town called Dirtmouth. It's called that because it is made of dirt, and several people there have a mouth. There's a strange old man standing in the center of town, all alone. I don't talk to nerds, so he probably doesn't have anything important to say, honestly. After you jump down the town well, you arrive in the Forgotten Crossroads. This name is clearly a lie because there's like a million people here, and they're all filled with what the uninformed viewer could think is orange juice. But if you look at some obscure lore in the game, you'll actually find out that it's a disease. But if you look even deeper, you'll realize it is just some really good orange juice. Continuing through the Forgotten Crossroads, you'll meet this guy, Cornifer. He is just going nuts with this solo. He'll sell you a map because your phone does not get signal underground, and Walgreens is closed right now, so you can't buy a pencil. So you buy his map that he made with a box of crayons. If you walk into this abandoned house, you'll meet some guy who looks like he's having a pretty good time. But if you attempt to ask why he's there, he snaps out of his orange juice-fueled trance and decides to go back to working at the Target checkout line. Wander around long enough, and you'll find the first boss, the False Knight. He just jumps around a lot until he hits the ground a little too hard. You get some Crest brand toothpaste, which is neat, I guess. I'm sure that he has some important lore, but more importantly, his stick is a bug. That's lore right there, folks. Take notes. After defeating the False Knight, you go into an area where you get a magic spell that shoots out a very angry face from a snail man who knocks you unconscious and makes you kill a big boy in an unsafe working environment. You cannot tell me those beams are sturdy. After you learn how to defeat big boys, you can find your way to a second big boy who's guarding the local state park. There, you catch a glimpse of a local park ranger who the Hollow Knight decides to follow because, you know, he wants to ask about the local wildlife tours. On your way to find the park ranger, you'll meet the hunter, who just asks you to kill things. No particular reason. I guess he just thought it'd be funny. A bit further down the road, you'll encounter the great and mighty Zote. He claims to be a knight of great renown, which is true. Anyways. Once you get far enough, you'll find your way to the park ranger. But before you can ask about the 9 o'clock presentation on geodes, she warns you that this is actually protected marshland, and if you come any closer, she will be forced to attack. But you don't care because, you know, you really gotta know about those geodes. So you assault a government employee and loot a nearby corpse after you do it, just to really rub it in. I mean, it's go big or go home, right? After that, you chill with a homie, talk with Hatman, perish, and now you're in Fog Canyon, which sucks because the jellyfish here are suicide bombers. So the Hollow Knight leaves because they are anti-jellyfish and anti-terrorism. Continuing forward with your journey, you get to the Queen Station, which contains 0 queens, 1 station, and 1 giraffe that has no bearing on anything. Cool Hatman is also here. Moving forward, you'll find your way into the Fungal Wastes, a land filled with mushrooms, acid, and a woo boys. Also, Owen Wilson is here. Wow. So the lore of this area is the guys are just mushrooms. You can also see the park ranger, and they use SV Cheats 1 to no-clip into the capital city of Hollow Nest, which we don't know the name of. My guess is Hollow Nest, Indianapolis, but we'll get there eventually. Oh, and there's also some bugs that explode. How rude. But then, there's the Mantis boys. Their whole thing is that they really don't like orange juice, and have decided that they will be having none of it. As you get closer to the Mantis Village, you pass through an area that has a really lovely welcome sign that promises free death. I mean, who's gonna say no to free death? That stuff doesn't come cheap, you know. and eventually you'll arrive where you can fight children and get a fishing hook that lets you ascend vertically. But then you descend vertically into a pit where you can have a door rudely slammed in your face, and you decide to complain to the managers about it. There used to be 4 managers, but one of them liked orange juice, which everyone else was hella not cool with. The managers waste no time giving you that swift and free death they were advertising. Upon defeating the managers, which only gamers are allowed to do by the way, they tell all their employees that you also don't like orange juice, and they're suddenly cool with you. They even open that door for you. And behind it is a coupon for 15% off any canned good of your choice, $1 million, and a Hollow Nest seal. Now, with the managers sufficiently spoken to, it's time to go to Hollow Nest, Deepnest, and with your newly acquired fishing gear, it'll be as easy as hooking a bass with a bait cast reel. That's a little joke for you fishers in the audience. Once you get to the main gate, you give the statue the toothpaste you stole earlier. Unfortunately, the statue takes offense at you pointing out their bad hygiene, and then they rudely slam the door behind you, trapping you within the city. So, the lore of this area is that all of the bugs here heard about orange juice getting pretty popular, and they didn't really want to have to deal with it, so they just decided that nobody was allowed to leave. But this did not work, because as we all know, orange juice is an airborne pathogen. But luckily, that wasn't their only plan. They also decided to have all the big brain bugs go and think so hard they couldn't even like orange juice at all. This also did not work, but that's okay, because only a few countless innocent people died because of it. When you arrive, basically everyone just decided that orange juice is pretty neat after all, but there's still a few non-orange juice craving people out there. And one of them is Lem, who owns a pawn shop. That's all he does. But then, there's also a Menards employee who you buy a box of grip-fast 3.5-inch 16T stainless steel smooth shank common nails from. Cool Hat Man is also here. Soon, you'll find your way to the center of town, where the park ranger meets you once more. She tells you to seek the grave in ash, which is her cryptic way of saying that you should go and loot another corpse. There's also a nice statue of the Hollow Knight here, and 3 other people who probably aren't that important. After you get your orders to loot another corpse, you decide that you should go and check in on the guys who decided to think really hard. It turns out they were actually so bad at this that they just ended up thinking about nothing but orange juice. So you killed their leader, the Soul Master, who I forgot has a second form. So once you kill him a second time, you get a magic spell that lets you smash your face into the floor. You can use this to break floors that have not been reinforced with grip-fast 3.5-inch 16D stainless steel smooth shank common nails. And once again, you find yourself in an unsafe working environment. You still can't convince you that anyone actually approved any of this. With the big brain bugs dealt with, you decide to leave the city for now, mostly because of the locked gate keeping you from going any further. But for now, you just take an elevator to get out, and now you have access to the Crystal Peak, which contains many objects that have not been secured with grip-fast 3.5-inch 16D stainless steel smooth shank common nails. Available now at your local Menards hardware store.
Save big money at Menards.
There are many amazing things in the Crystal Peak, like crystals and the world's second most annoying enemy. There are also a lot of miners here, which doesn't really make sense because this is the highest point in the Hollow Nest. I guess nobody told them that you're supposed to mine underground. Eventually you look inside the heart of a robot and it lets you go really fast. Cool Hat Man is also here. After walking around the Crystal Peak for a bit, you'll fall into a pit that leads to the local graveyard. There, you meet 3 unimportant people again, and they throw you into the dream world, where you get the dream nail, the only thing that can kill them. So it was kind of a bad plan on their part. You'll also meet the Seer, and they give you the owner's manual for the dream nail. Apparently, it can be used to read minds and to trim trees. Neat! While you're in the graveyard, you also decide to rob a grave that features the worst sound I've ever heard in my life. To say that I'm incredibly uninterested would be a massive understatement. And since you got the dream nail, you decide to kill the people who gave it to you, just because it'd be funny. So now you're off on a mission to kill 3 people, which will let you open a door that will let you kill an additional 2 people. The first place the knight goes on this quest is to the other side of Hollownest Deepnest, which is where all the rich people of Hollownest live. There's also the biggest boys that we've seen to date. But it's also where you'll find Lurian, the Watcher, whose whole thing is that he watches. But I guess he didn't watch the construction of his tower because there's not like a staircase or something to get up to it. Once you reach the top of the tower, you'll have to fight Lurian's secretaries, but they're all a bunch of cheaters and they'll double team you. So it's a good thing that it's a well-documented fact that cheating can actually be counteracted by dropping a chandelier on someone's head. After murdering all 6 of his receptionists, you meet Lurian, and you like, eat him or something? I don't really get what you do to him, and thinking about it any longer will only make it seem weirder, so we're moving on. Now, you decide to delve into the sewers of Hollownest Deepnest. The lore for the sewers is that it's where the flukes live, which is a fun group of bugs that are a fan of division. Their mother is Fluke Marm, who dies about 30 seconds after you first see her. However, on the other side of the sewers is the Dung Defender, who throws poop at you. You can make your own joke using the provided chart. When you defeat the Dung Defender, you gain access to Yzma's Grove, where you steal the tears of a dead plant. Drinking these tears lets you swim in acid. Because magic. And with that, you return to the Fog Canyon, where you can now get a spell that shoots out many angry faces. You also decide to open a bank account, because the knight knows that financial security is an important aspect of life. The tier also allows you access into the local library, even though you don't have a library card to check out any books. When you get to the front desk, you try and check out a copy of classic book A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. But since you don't have a library card, the person at the desk decides to try and kill you instead of letting you have your book. Which is, you know, rude. Luckily, Cool Hat Man is here to save the day, and he helps you kill the assistant librarian. But then you have to kill the head librarian, who isn't there right now. So Cool Hat Man makes the ultimate sacrifice, and gives up his cool hat to let you kill them too. After Cool Hat Man's brave sacrifice, you slurp, maybe, the librarian into your body. It's weird. Again, it just gets stranger the longer you think about it, so I'm just not going to dwell on it. Anyways, now you're off to Deepnest, the location of the final person. Based on its name, you'd think Deepnest is where the deep lore is, but no. It's just filled with spiders. Like, a lot of spiders. And forklifts, too, for some reason. Oh, and your cousin Harold is here, so that's nice. But I'm pretty sure he's a distant relative, though, because he looks a little bit different than you do. He's a bit rude, so you end up stealing his Minecraft diamonds. Walking to the left of where Harold is, you find yourself in the distant village. There's a lot of lovely people in the village, and they ask you nicely to take a seat, so you do. Unfortunately, it turns out that was a trap, and they throw you into a spider nest. So, you break out and make your way through to kill Hera, who is actually the park ranger's mom. I bet you feel really good about yourself now, you monster. With all 3 of the unimportant people dead, you're finally ready to open the door to the Temple of the Black Egg. But not really, because you don't just want to go and kill your other cousin. You also want to get to the source of the orange juice and kill it once and for all. But before you can do that, there's a few things that have to be done. First, you go to the Kingdom's Edge, where you can find the park ranger once more. They give you the season pass, which allows you to finally loot that corpse she told you to steal from so long ago. Inside the corpse is a cool temporary tattoo that you can use to open doors. Neat! Also located at the Kingdom's Edge is the Super Bowl, where you can win some shiny rocks. The referee is dead, but it doesn't seem to be bothering anyone, so just don't point it out to anyone while you're there, okay? You can use your temporary tattoo to go into the Abyss, where there's actually a family reunion going on. But you don't want to talk to any of your relatives right now, so you just murder them to avoid having a conversation. While you're there, you decide to have some delicious soup from a creature called the Shade Beast. But he's actually secretly Joseph A. Campbell, founder of the Campbell Soup Company. That's why he gives you the soup. With your soup consumed, you decide it's time to visit your mom. Unfortunately, the fourth manager from earlier, the one who's actually on board with this whole orange juice thing, is here to stop you from meeting your long-lost mother, because they hate happiness. As you try and kill the manager, somebody drops in and gets the assist, so you're free to go and visit your mom. It turns out she's a tree, which is kind of weird, but we don't judge here on the Flurg Bungalow YouTube channel, and we support all tree moms. Anyways, she gives you one half of a charm, because she's kinda cheap and won't give it to you all, so you decide to go and ask your dad for the other half. But first, you need to kill some ghosts to put some new batteries into your brain sword, because your dad is hiding inside of a corpse, it's actually a dream, and it's like, it's complicated. Going inside the corpse of the dream leads you into the power tools section of the local Menards hardware store. You go through it and find your dad in the supply closet. He's sleeping right now, so you just take the charm without asking. He won't need it anytime soon. With both pieces together, you get the legendary King Soul, which contains an infinite amount of soul. For about 5 minutes before it's replaced with a cooler charm that doesn't do anything at all. Now, it's finally time to face the Hollow Knight. Entering the Temple of the Black Egg, you're about to kill him when the park ranger comes in, letting you brain jazz your way into the mind of the Hollow Knight. Inside, you find the one person responsible for all of this, C.D. Atkins, the inventor of orange juice. They throw everything they've got at you, but you beat them back, and so they try in one last desperate attempt to shoot you down with their orange juice beam. But they fail, and you slap them so hard in the face that they turn into a bunch of particle effects. And then you die.